So Las Vegas sports books have multiple ways that you can bet on sports. And one of my favorites is future bets. Like, for instance, if you want to bet on a certain outcome that's going to happen, I bet on Bryce Young being the #1 overall pick. Lo and behold, it happened. I made money. But you can also bet on other future bets like prop bets or season statistical totals. Like, they'll give you a given amount of yardage or touchdowns or whatever for a given player. And you can bet on if you think the player will go over or under. And with the NFL draft being behind us, Vegas has already released the projection for Bryce Young's statistics for his rookie year, and they're pretty interesting to say the least. So in this video today, we're going to go into the numbers and see what they have projected from him and see if those expectations are a little bit too high, too low, just right, and what that means for the Panthers going forward this year. We're starting right now. What up, dude? What's going on? It's Aaron Duncan here with the Necessary Bluntness Sports Talk, bringing you recap and analysis of the NFL and the Carolina Panthers. So if you want to see more videos about the squad, the Carolina Panthers that I'm rocking like this, hit the subscribe button down below and the bell icon. That way you get notification every time I drop a video, and I am closing in. I'm that close. I can smell it. I can taste it. I'm almost at 10,000 subscribers. So please consider hitting that subscribe button and give the video a thumbs up, because when you get a video thumbs up, it lets YouTube know that you like this type of content. But it also says, hey, YouTube, give this out to more people with common interests just like me, aka more Panthers fans. So please hit that like button as well. And of course, on this channel, I always like to engage with you guys down in the comments below. So once I give my projections of what Bryce Young is going to be, let me know how you feel about him going over or under these numbers, because some of these numbers are pretty something, you know what I'm saying? So let me know how you feel down below in the comments. But first things first, like I said, the NFL draft is gone, and Vegas has released their future odds for the rookie of the year. And the opening, Bryce Young starts as the second best odds to be rookie of the year. According to Bovada.lv, the sports book that I personally use to bet with, Bryce Young is at plus 450. That means if you put $10 on Bryce Young, you will win $45 if he becomes rookie of the year. If you put down 100, you win 450. If you put down 1,000, you win 4,500. See where I'm going with that. The second best odds is pretty good for a quarterback, but number one is our division rivals first round pick, Bijan Robinson, the running back out of University of Texas. And I just think it's kind of ironic because a lot of the times for these rookie of the year votes and MVP votes, MVP is slighted a little bit more towards pretty much a quarterback award at this point. But rookie of the year, you see Bijan has the inside track right now because they see what type of playmaker he is. Some people say he was the best guy in this draft, and he's going to a run heavy team. He's a dynamic playmaker. It kind of makes sense that Bijan is the top guy. But for Bryce Young to be the #1 quarterback, I think it says a lot. And I think it says a lot for where the hype is on him, because there's a lot of pressure already on the #1 overall pick. And when you set certain expectations, that's where disappointments come in. Not saying that Bryce is going to disappoint us, but we have to talk about how these expectations will be. So if you want to put in a bet on this rookie of the year odds of Bryce Young like I am, or you want to bet on somebody else, because you can bet on CJ Stroud, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Quentin Johnson, whoever. If you want to bet like that, you can hit that link down below for Bovada.lv where I bet, and you're going to get a 100% match on your first deposit. So make sure you check down there below if you want to bet along with your boy. But I think that Bryce Young has a solid chance for rookie of the year. But moving on to the projected stats. Right now, Las Vegas has Bryce Young's line set at 3,875 passing yards on the season. It may seem like a regular total, but let's move on to the passing touchdowns, because the passing touchdowns are set at 24.5, and most of the juice is slighted towards him going under those totals. And I'm going to talk about the reasoning why a little bit after that, and what I think you should do if you want to make that bet. But just for some little bit of context and kicks and giggles, because I know some of you guys wanted CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud is projected for 3,750 yards and also 22.5 passing touchdowns. So Bryce edges him out a little bit just because I think the coaching situation is better. The weapons may be a little bit better here in Carolina. I think the team overall is better than the Texans too. So I can understand why Vegas goes that route by giving Bryce Young a slight edge yardage-wise on their projection. But just a side note, I think that projection is interesting, because when you look at the Panther single season passing yardage total record, If Bryce Young was to achieve that projected amount that Vegas gave him, that would be good enough for 4th all-time in Panthers history. That's crazy. For someone that only throw for 38.75 and still be that high on the list in Panthers history and only be, 15 yards away from 3rd place? That's a little bit of embarrassing because the Panthers have only had 2 players in team history throw for over 4,000 yards, which pretty much seems to be the norm for any above average quarterback. I know Cam Newton was the playmaker that we all love, but he made up for his lack of passing on the ground, so it kind of evened out. So these passing totals, they're going to be slided towards the bottom, and obviously we've had defensive-minded coaches for the most part during the Panthers' history. So I understand why some of this may be lacking, but with the way the modern NFL is, all the rules where you can't hit quarterbacks, all the rules where that receivers can run downfield and they can't be touched because of illegal contact or this, that, and the third, you would think that the Panthers would have a better outcome as far as passing in their team history than 2 guys going over 4,000. And the guy that holds the number 1 record is Steve Berline, who threw for 4,436 yards, a respectable total, but it happened in 1999. 1999. That record may be older than some of you guys that may be watching this video now. So the game was completely different back then, and for that record to still be upheld at this point, it is embarrassing in my opinion, from an offensive perspective from this team. And it's got to be better going forward. Like I said, with the offensive coaches we have now, with Bryce Young, I expect that to be someday broken by him. Now, does it happen this year? Does Bryce Young go over or under that 38.75? I'm going to have to say under. I think we're going to have a more of a heavier running scheme. And if you break that 38.75 down per game across a 17-game season, it's 227 yards per game. So not even really a scary amount, but I still think we're going to be run heavy. Yeah, Bryce may have his games where he goes over that 227 because we face some weaker pass defenses, but I think that under is the way to go, just because I think between the 20s, they're going to be leaning on that running game as much as possible. And then in the red zone, they're going to let him work. So when it comes to the passing touchdowns of 24.5, I think he goes over for that same thought process. In the red zone, they're going to give him a little bit more free reign to throw the ball. They're going to get a little bit more creative with their play calling. They're going to let Bryce Young use that amazing processing and decision-making to pick this defense apart and get us into the end zone in the red zone. So I like the over on the 24.5 passing touchdowns, but the under on the 38.75 passing yards. Let me know down below in the comments, how do you think Bryce Young would do? Over or under those 2 amounts? And like I said, for all we know, Bryce Young could come out smoking. Cam Newton threw for 4,000 yards his rookie year, which is good enough for 2nd all-time passing yardage season total. But he never really got over 4,000 after that. And he actually started the season out with those back-to-back 400-yard passing games. So that kind of just set the tone for the whole season. So Bryce Young, as a rookie, he could come out and do Cam Newton-like things and be productive as a passer and go over that total. I just think that this is a different time, a different age, and I think this is a different coaching staff and regime and the system that we're going to lean on that ground game to start everything for. So that's where my expectations for Bryce Young is as a rookie compared to Cam Newton. But moving on to some team projections that they have with Bryce Young as a quarterback, they have our projected win total for the Carolina Panthers at 7.5 games. Now, that to me seems a little low because we were 6.5 last year with Matt Rule as a lame duck coach. We ended up winning 7 games and going over that total. That was despite getting rid of Christian McCaffrey. That was despite the uncertainty at the quarterback position. That was despite having an interim coach for most of the year and redefining our whole offense through the year. We still limped and managed to win 7 games. With a full offseason, a defensive coordinator, new head coaches on offense, a new quarterback. Yes, we got rid of DJ Moore, but we supplemented a little bit more depth at wide receiver. I just don't see us not winning at least 8 or 9 games at the worst. So 7.5, I'm betting the over that all day, every day, and twice on Sundays, because I think the Panthers will be able to stack at least enough wins to get over that. But I still think that 8, 9, 10 games will be an opportunity that's right there in front of them. They just have to make things happen if Bryce Young can progress how we expect him to as a rookie. So that 7.5 just seems criminally low. Let me know down below in the comments if you think that that's about right for the Panthers where they are now with the rookie quarterback, because we know it's rare to see immediate rookie success as far as a team overall, but I just think that the circumstances may be a little bit different for Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers since they traded up for their number 1 overall pick in the rookie versus being the worst team in the league. So I want to get you guys' thoughts. Do you think the Panthers go above or below that 7.5 wins? Because We know the opponents. We just don't know when the schedule is going to get where we play everybody, and that schedule is going to be released a little bit later this month. So I want to get you guys' thoughts. The last thing that caught my eye is where the Panthers' odds were to win the NFC South. And right now, they have the third best odds behind the Saints at number 1 and 2, the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I understand them putting the Saints at number 1. They're the only one with an established veteran quarterback that we know is a known commodity. Everybody else in the division has questions at that quarterback position, and we know quarterback is the most important position. Fine. But the Falcons, I know they spent a lot of money. I know they added Bijan. I know they've been kind of loading up and making trades and stuff. But is that just them capitalizing off all the hype? Or do they legit think that the Falcons will have a better year than the Panthers? Because the Panthers could have and should have easily swept the Falcons last year had the helmet thing and the missed field goal by Panero not happen. They could have easily swept the Falcons. I know it's a new season, but I just feel like the Panthers' odds are being slept on to improve this year and be a really force in the NFC South. Because even though they were supposed to have a down year last year, they still almost got the division title. And I just think they're sleeping on the Panthers overall in the grand scheme, but maybe they'll catch up to them as the summer goes on. These odds change, but I may have to go ahead and put my money on the Panthers to win the NFC South right now while they're sleeping on it. That way I can get the best return on my investment. You guys let me know how you feel about the Panthers being projected to finish third in the NFC South. And if you have a problem with that, you think it's realistic? I think I'm sleeping on the Falcons? I want to get you guys' thoughts down below in the comments as always. But without further ado, my name is Aaron Duncan signing off. Make sure you guys are subscribed, and I appreciate you watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.